So if you've tried getting more sleep, but you're still exhausted and tired all the time, what actually might be going on is you might be experiencing some burnout. And so today I want to talk a little bit about the differences between tiredness and burnout. And so it gives you a little bit of an idea of kind of what potentially could be going on. And later this week, we're going to talk about how you can identify whether or not you are really struggling with some burnout. So basically, when we look at the differences between these two is basically the way that I explain it for most people is that when you're dealing with tiredness, sleep itself is generally going to resolve the issue. And so with if you're just if you're extra tired, this could be because of some irregular routines, or you're not getting enough good quality sleep, or maybe you're dealing with a sickness or something like that. There's reasons as to why we can just simply be tired, and it all revolves around just not getting enough good quality sleep. The thing with this is when it comes to being tired is that the solution to the problem is sleep. So if you can get more sleep, generally you're going to feel better. If the problem that you're dealing with and the reason why you're feeling tired is just because of general tiredness. Now, on the flip side, if we're starting to look at dealing with some burnout, this is a little bit different, a little bit more complex. Burnout typically is the way they kind of explain it and think of it is it's an emotional depletion. It's an emotional exhaustion. And this is something that sleep itself doesn't necessarily fix. A lot of times we'll turn to sleep because we feel like we'll use it kind of as a way of coping with burnout. And so we'll just want to just sleep, because then if we're sleeping, we're not dealing with whatever it is that's causing the burnout or whatever stresses that we're dealing with and everything. But the thing is that the sleep itself doesn't actually fix the problem like it does if we're just simply tired. And so with burnout, we're dealing with that emotional exhaustion. We're dealing with things like mental fog, lack of energy, lack of motivation, those kind of things that are what goes along with burnout itself, which is very different than just simply being tired. Again, the main differences between the two is if we're just tired, we can sleep it off and we can feel better and feel more rested. But the sleep doesn't address and doesn't fix burnout itself. Why do we struggle sometimes to see the difference between these two? Honestly, I think a big part of it is because most of the time we're not getting good quality sleep, and so we're constantly in this state of being tired. And so it does get really tricky then to kind of discern the two and figure out what exactly is going on, because you may be always tired because you are always genuinely tired. And so if we want to kind of figure out, are you dealing with just simply being tired or dealing with some burnout, first let's address the easy thing. And the easy thing to address and to figure out is does sleep itself fix the problem? If you're able to get a good night of sleep, do you feel better in the morning, or do you still feel all the same the low energy, motivation, all of that kind of stuff, that kind of lack of motivation, all that kind of stuff that comes with being burned out? Which again, I'll talk tomorrow. I'm gonna have a video come out tomorrow that's going to kind of talk about some of the early signs of burnout. So something to kind of tune in for, because that can really kind of help you get a little bit of a heads up of what's kind of going on if burnout is something that you're dealing with. But so basically what we need to do when it comes to these two is we need to have an understanding that burnout and being tired need to be treated differently. We can't deal with and treat burnout by just simply sleeping more. That's not going to fix the problem, because there's more to it. There's more that's kind of going on there that has to be addressed, because we're dealing with just an emotional exhaustion there. If you're just simply tired, more sleep is what you need. And more than likely, it's probably due to poor sleep habits that is causing that issue. And so again, that's kind of the key difference. And so I want to talk a little bit later this week, come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of the early signs of burnout, so that you can identify it yourself, because that's half the battle right there, is just being able to identify what exactly is going on. So if you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching, and I hope that you guys got something out of it, and I will talk to you in the next one then.